Hi, I'm Bob the Hippie Gardener, and we're here today to talk about planting seeds or doing your own seed starting. And you do this instead of buying transplants for a bunch of reasons. Number one would be choice of varieties. That would be the most important reason, because you can go to your big box stores, Lowe's or Home Depot, and you can get maybe 10 varieties of tomatoes, but there are literally thousands of varieties of tomatoes that you can choose from, and most of the good ones aren't at big box stores. Another reason would be knowing what's in your seeds and plants, so you could grow your own stuff organically rather than the stuff that you buy commercially, which you don't know what's in it, for example. So what do you need? Well, you need light, of course. Nothing can grow without light. So you need either a southern window where you can put stuff out, and that may be enough, but in most cases it probably won't be for a lot of different kinds of plants. So you can buy just these little LED lights like these. This one's from something called Unit Farm, and it uses the same as a 60-watt light bulb would. So that's one that's about a 1 foot by 1 foot area. So if you want to grow just some transplants like this, that will work for that. And those are rather reasonable on Amazon, about $39 to $59 for something like that. And you can go all the way up to one that'll give you a 4 by 4, like the size of this table, to grow transplants if you want. You also need seed trays, and they come in all shapes and sizes. So everything from, small 4-packs like this to bigger 4-packs to 6-packs like these, or even some of these that are 8-packs. And they vary on depth and size, and they sometimes some kinds are better for certain kinds of vegetables, which we'll talk a little bit about today. So when you get the seed trays, then you need some kind of a starting medium. And what I like to use is just some vermiculite and some coconut coir or peat moss. So peat moss is my preference. So that's what we've got here today. It's just some coconut coir and peat moss. No fertilizer, no other kinds of chemicals in it. Then you need seeds. And so today we're going to talk about stuff that you can plant very early, and do onions and celery, and we'll talk about those in a minute. But one of the most important things you need is a schedule. Like, when should you plant them so that they're ready to go at the same time the ones are in the big box stores to buy. And so what you need to look at is your climate area. And the area that I'm in right now is central Illinois, and it's zone 6A, and we have an average last frost date of April 23rd. So planting dates for certain crops vary, and you can go to almanac.com, and they have a place where you can type in your zip code and get specific information about the planting dates for every kind of vegetable that you can think of. I highly suggest you do it. It's free, and that's where I got a lot of the dates that we're working with today. So what you do is you take your last frost and you count backwards for how many weeks it needs to be. So weeks before your last frost, for example. So we're going to plant some onions today, and according to the almanac, onions should be planted about 8 to 12 weeks before the last frost date, or in our area, January 28th to February 25th. And we're going to talk about planting celery, which need to be planted 10 to 12 weeks ahead of time, and that's from January 28th to February 11th here in area 6A. So let's talk about what you want to do here. You want to take these seed trays, and I've got a bunch of them already kind of filled here to save some time, so you can kind of get the idea. But what you want to do is get your planting mixture and get it pre-wetted before you do this. And so if you have that ready to go, it should look something like this. You should be able to take it and crumple it together, and it should stay together but break apart easily. And that's really what you want to start your seeds in, just something perfectly kind of wet like that. And I've got all this done here, and we'll just show you how you put the last one in. And what you want to do when you do this is you want to press it down, but not a lot. You don't want really, really solid packed in there, but you want it filled all the way up to the top with soil, just like that. So you can plant these celery or onions either way here. And I'm going to do a couple of different things. I'm going to plant the onions in kind of a bed method here. So I've got just a bigger planting tray here. And the only thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to make some rows here for onions. And when you plant onions, they need to be about a 1/4 inch apart and a 1/4 inch deep. So I think I can get like three rows of onions in this particular bed. And what I'm going to plant today are some onions that are keeper onions. These are onions that you can sometimes store until the spring. And one is an onion called red carpet. I get these seeds from Pine Tree Seeds. There's multiple sources for great onions. But you take the seeds, and you come in and you try to do them every 1/4 inch or so, all the way down the row. And they don't need to be planted very deep at all. So just a little scratch is enough to be deep enough for them to start. Onions are fairly easy to transplant when these are ready in about 8 weeks or so. They should be about the size of a pencil. And what you do is you just kind of loosen this soil, get it a little wet, and the roots separate fairly easy with onions. And you don't really damage the roots. So that's the one thing about onions, is they have tough roots. So there I've got the seeds kind of evenly distributed, and I'm just going to take a little bit more of this vermiculite mixture. Just lightly put it over the top. And so they're basically just barely covered. So the next thing you want to make sure you do is you want to make sure you label what you got. Because they look alike once they start growing. So you want to take a label and just put the kind of onion it is. So you know later when they all look alike what kind you've got. So that's how you plant onions. So let's talk about, and then in the spring, when they're ready to go in the garden, say in early April, or whenever the ground is about 50 degrees, you can go outside and plant them out when the ground is workable and get them in the ground early. The other advantage to planting onion seeds is you can get bigger onions. And usually those onions are better storage onions than you can get if you try to plant bulbs. You can go to your big box store and get bulbs, but the thing about bulbs is something that's relevant to planting them, the little bulbs is that they're the second year. They've already been grown for a year, and they've been grown close together to be very small. And you can then put these in your garden and you can grow them, but they're in their second year, and then they're biennial, so the second year they want to go to seed. So sometimes if the weather gets just right, you'll get a lot of these bulbs you get from the stores to plant in the ground and that'll go to seed. You won't have very much of a problem with that if you do your own plants. The other thing that's in season to plant right now here in Illinois would be celery. And a lot of people don't grow celery, and it is hard to find in the store too. You know, it's most of the big box stores don't have it, or if they have it, it sells out really quickly because they really don't. You don't see it very much. And so I like to plant my own, and you need to plant that again about 10 to 12 weeks ahead of time, so before the last frost date. So I've got a variety from Territorial Seed Company called Hadrian, and it's a hybrid F1, and it's for like big stalks. And this is an interesting variety of seeds because what they've done is actually take the seeds and coated them with a little bit of white clay, which is kind of helpful with these very small seeds. You can see that with these little tiny seeds. And it makes it really easy, so you can put like 3 seeds here. And you really don't need to get very deep here. Basically what you only need is a little depression, so that the water goes down in towards that little depression when you water these. And I put like 2 of these in each one. And again, because they're coated with clay, they're very easy to see. You don't waste a lot of seed this way. Now celery needs lots of water. You can't let it get dry at any time during the season. It's a cool weather crop, and that's why you want to start it really early, because you want to get it out really early. Definitely about 4 weeks before your last frost date. Somewhere in that range, if the weather's warm enough. So with these, all you need to do is just press them in a little bit, like that. And then you don't really need to cover them at all. And then you'll just take and water these the same as you water these onions. So that's the first part of our series, which is the Beginner's Guide to Seed Starting, Part 1 here at the Hippie Gardener. It's the time of year to plant celery and onions, so that's how you do it.